I'm not good at these opening lines. Hey, how are you? Hey, welcome to YouTube. I don't know. So I'll just start with what I'm going to talk to you guys today. Today I'm going to talk about openSUSE Leap 42.3. It's a new release of openSUSE Leap, but I will talk less about this version. I'll talk more about Leap in general. Why? I mean, that's the whole point of this discussion. As far as my own interaction or my own usage of openSUSE is concerned, I think I switched to openSUSE back in I think around 2011 when I think Ubuntu switched to Unity. I started my Linux journey with Fedora Core. I was an assist. I think I was a special correspondent with Linux for You magazine group, and they were running Fedora Core there, and I hated it back then. Then I used Mandriva. Then I used openSUSE for a very short time. Then I used Debian. Then I jumped on to Ubuntu bandwagon, and I have stayed with Ubuntu ever since. It was a very stable. GNOME was quite stable and useful, and then Unity happened, and it kind of broke my workflow because it was kind of very primitive back then, both Unity as well as GNOME 3 shell. The application that I needed were not available, so I started looking around for something else which would offer me same kind of stability, which would offer me kind of a commercial, not commercial distribution, but kind of corporate and commercial backing, so that I do know that the future of this distribution is kind of safe and secure. And I started looking around, and then I found KDE to be the kind of perfect for my needs, because it was extremely customizable, it was mature, and I can do everything that I wanted in the way I wanted it. So I picked KDE, and then I started looking for the right distribution. I tried a lot of distributions, and then I settled down with openSUSE because the kind of customization KDE offers and the kind of flexibility and tweaking that openSUSE offers kind of was a perfect match there. So I started using openSUSE with KDE, and I have been using KDE and openSUSE ever since. That was just as a user, but I've been covering openSUSE and SUSE for longer than that. When I finished my journalism course and I joined Linux for You magazine, I've been covering SUSE and Red Hat from those days. Back in those days, when you talk about open source, there were only two players, Red Hat and SUSE. Everything else was kind of community driven. It was the commercial players were only these two. Nowadays, everything is open source, whether you're talking about Docker containers, whether you're talking OpenStack Cloud, no matter where you look at, everything is open source, and almost everything is commercial, which is kind of good. So I've been kind of writing about SUSE and openSUSE for that long. So my opinion, my analysis of openSUSE is not the official stand of openSUSE, but my own interpretation and my own analysis from what I have seen, and based on my interaction that I've had with SUSE executives and openSUSE developers and core members, especially Richard Brown, who is the chairman of openSUSE board. So if I'm not wrong, it was around 2015 or 2016 when openSUSE community decided to create two versions of openSUSE. One was called Leap and other was called Tumbleweed. The reason that I see was that first of all, they had a factory. It was more or less like a repository where all the code base would go, and then it will be picked by openSUSE. Tumbleweed was a distribution which was maintained by Greg Cage, who is the leading kernel developer, but it was more or less like his pet project where he wanted access to latest packages and latest kernel and everything that he can use there. So it was more or less like his own project. So when openSUSE community decided to create a rolling release version of openSUSE, they kind of wanted to, because the idea came essentially from Greg, so they wanted to kind of give him credit, kind of gratitude towards him. So they took his permission, and he was already busy with his next kernel work. So they kind of took over the name Tumbleweed and created a brand new project, openSUSE Tumbleweed. So the way things work was that all the code will go in factory, which has now become an internal project where you dump all the code, and then it goes through its testing process through OpenQA and all those things, and then it goes in Tumbleweed. Once everything is well tested and it's rolling release, but it has to be stable, it has to be well tested, then it goes to Tumbleweed, and which you can download and start using it. From Tumbleweed, SUSE people take whatever components they want for SUSE Linux Enterprise, or SLES what you call. So now Tumbleweed has kind of become upstream. So now earlier what was happening was openSUSE and SLES were totally two different galaxies, in two different universes. Now those two galaxies have come together where they are like kind of exchanging the galactic matter. So SLES takes a lot of components from Tumbleweed, openSUSE Tumbleweed. And these are the kind of things that are kind of new technologies which are tested by the community, and it goes in Tumbleweed. Then SLES take it, and then Leap is based on SLES. So then Leap takes source code from SLES and build this very stable distribution, which is kind of almost enterprise grade. So this is the chemistry between Leap, Tumbleweed, and SLES. So Leap essentially, I would not say it's like 100% clone, but it's kind of community version of SUSE Linux Enterprise. The big difference between SLES and Red Hat versus CentOS and openSUSE is that, well, CentOS is 100% clone of RHEL, where the community want to create the same kind of clone without any subscription and support model. openSUSE is different in a way that the open source community, they have been like using openSUSE for a very long time, so there are a lot of enterprise features that they don't need. There are a lot of features that they need for their own usage or for their own user base, so they pick and choose whatever they want, which makes sense for their community. So it's not 100% kind of clone of SLES. So what they do in Leap is they take a lot of code that they inherited from the legacy openSUSE, because those were the technologies, those were the features that openSUSE community built over time. Those are features that they need, they use. So they take those, then they take packages from SLES, because that those are enterprise grade features and tools that they can use. And then there's latest technologies which is being introduced to the openSUSE world through Tumbleweed. So they take those packages from Tumbleweed. So Leap is kind of, as Richard Brown says, is like 33% openSUSE legacy, or whatever you call it, Leap, 33% SLES, and 33% Leap. Tumbleweed. So it's like a very fine balance between the legacy world, enterprise world, and the kind of futuristic rolling release word. So you get a very good balance of, now it depends what is latest and what is stable. So if you're looking at the foundation, it has to be very secure and it has to be very, very stable. That's where SLES comes. Then you need a lot of components that you have been using on openSUSE. That's where openSUSE legacy, or whatever you want to call it, comes. And then you need a lot of new features and new technology. That's where the Tumbleweed part comes. So that's essentially what Leap is. It's a long description. I took way too much time than it should, but that's what basically Leap is. So now you understand, when you're installing Leap or when you're using Leap, what you're getting. A new release of Leap is out. So what's new there? Since you understand how Leap is being created and developed, now you very well know what new to expect there. It's a minor release, it's not a major release. There are some incremental improvements, like their new drivers. They're still using kernel 4.4, which is the LTS version of Linux kernel. But you can also use 4.9. It's supported, so you can install it to get new features from that kernel. If you don't like it, you can go back to 4.4. But you have that possibility. Other than that, as I explained earlier, what Leap is, so you can expect all the stability and all those core features that you see in SLES Service Pack 2, I guess. That's what you would get in Leap. There are some other areas where they have improved things. One is upgrading. So now you can very easily upgrade from previous version of SUSE Leap to this version without breaking your system. Now, that's what the claim that Richard Brown is making. I have not tried it myself, so I cannot really vouch for it, but I'm trusting that it should work. And if you're running a previous version of openSUSE Leap, I would suggest take a backup and give it a try so that at least you know whether it works or not. So that will help you in future releases. One thing that I like about openSUSE is that it uses BTRFS or BetterFS file system as the default file system for the root. And ButterFS supports snapshotting. So they use a tool called Snapper, which takes snapshots of your operating system. So if something goes bad, you can always recover from the previously saved snapshot. And with this release, they have upgraded the version of Snapper, which comes with a lot of new features, mostly a very smooth kind of recovery method that they use. I don't know how many people listen to music on their desktop. I don't. I have these AirPods, and I listen to my music on my Samsung Galaxy and iPad or whatever. I don't listen to music on my desktop. But if you're still using, listening to music on desktop, now openSUSE Leap 42.3 comes with, out of the box MP3 support. It's not that they have done something magical or they have taken some legal kind of made some legal efforts there. The thing is that MP3 patents expired in April, or I think April or May this year. And for now, for labs, I think they did not renew those patents. So those patents have expired, which means anyone is free to decode and encode MP3. And that is why you get, out of the box MP3 support with openSUSE Leap 42.3, which is, I think, good news for those who do consume a lot of MP3. I don't know why would you use it, because you can get a lot of, lossless format. But anyway, if you do use MP3, that's another good thing. So that's the basic of what's Leap and what's new in this release. Now let's quickly talk about the user experience. What I like about openSUSE is that, if you look at Ubuntu, that's a Unity distribution. If you look at Linux Mint, it's essentially Cinnamon, but they do come with Mate and other flavors. If you look at Fedora, that's essentially GNOME release. What's good about openSUSE is that it's kind of desktop agnostic. If you download the DVD version of openSUSE, it does there's an option of GNOME or KDE during the installer when you're installing it. By default, KDE is selected, but you can very easily click on GNOME. I don't know if you want to call it a KDE distribution or not, but the beauty with openSUSE is that irrespective of which desktop environment you install on it, it offers a very great integration with that desktop environment. And that's the reason why I chose openSUSE when I picked KDE back then, because you don't get like a vanilla GNOME or vanilla KDE experience. You get openSUSE KDE experience. You get openSUSE GNOME experience. Like on GNOME, they offer GNOME Tweak tool and a lot of very important tools and utilities that you need for a very good GNOME experience. They are pre-installed on it, and same is the case with KDE. That you get a lot of tools pre-installed on it, but that is not the reason why I kind of like openSUSE. One of the most important reasons is YAST. As I was talking about earlier, that KDE offers kind of customization that you need. Same is the case with openSUSE. If you look at YAST, every single component of the operating system that you can tweak can be tweaked here. It's not, if you look at other distributions, they mostly rely on the tools that particular desktop environment offers. If you look at Unity or Ubuntu, it's basically uses the GNOME, settings or whatever it is. But with openSUSE, you get YAST, where you can manage whether it's your host name, networking, firewall, Bluetooth, you name it, and that functionality is there in YAST. I hope every Linux distribution come with YAST. That will make life so easy for everybody. So that is one reason I prefer openSUSE, because I get to tweak and fine-tune the distribution based on my needs. And that's the whole point of using Linux, right? You want to be able to customize it. So so that is another reason that I kind of stick with openSUSE. Now, should you use it or not? Well, that really depends on, I mean, what your needs are. I mean, honestly speaking, I don't use Leap. I run openSUSE Tumbleweed because I need access to latest version of applications. I want all the latest features, so I use Tumbleweed. But if you are a gamer who relies a lot on NVIDIA drivers, then Leap is the best option because it's very well supported. You don't have to worry about moving parts and moving targets, which you have to keep up with. Once again, why? As I said, it really depends on what your needs are. The reason I use openSUSE is, as I explained earlier, customization, YAST. Oh yeah, one more thing is OBS. When I was on Ubuntu, if I needed any application that was not in their official repository, my option was I will Google it, then I'll find 3 PPAs, then I'll try to find out which PPA is kind of stable or safe or usable. It was kind of very rough. I mean, I wouldn't say rough, but it was not the experience I would expect. I would expect, one interface where I can search for the package and I can easily install with one click. That was not possible. I mean, just the way I can do on Android, or not Android, but I mean, you know what I mean. I mean that, a very easy to use interface where you go search for your package and install it. It doesn't matter whether it's an official repository or not. So, I mean, OpenSUSE has a lot of, like, over 10,000 packages in their official repository. Then you have a community-based repository called Pacman, where you can get access to even more packages. And then there is OBS, which is Open Build Service. It's a tool that OpenSUSE has developed, which allows developer to package their applications not only for openSUSE but for other distributions also, and a lot of projects they use it. The way it makes life easier is that, as I was explaining earlier, you just go to website software.opensuse.org, search for the package that you want, and then you will see that it shows which version of openSUSE is supported. So let's say you are using openSUSE Leap. Go there, click on it, and it will once again show you, because there may be a developer version, there will be a stable version, there may be a beta version, or whatever it is. Just click on that button. That's it. It will, open YAST and it will install that application for you. You're done. You don't have to worry about anything else. So, whatever my needs were in terms of installing applications and packages, that was a very easy to use interface and experience. I do wish that this was built into YAST itself. So instead of going to software.opensuse.org, I can just open YAST, search for it, and install it from there. But beyond that, that's another reason that I prefer openSUSE over other distributions. So if it kind of boils down to 4 things, basically. One is customization through YAST. It's a very customizable distribution where you get access to all the core components. Second is very good integration with the desktop environment that you're using, especially if you're using GNOME or KDE. Third is Open Build Service. And fourth is the community. Ubuntu, they're awesome. I mean, they have one of the best communities around. They changed the whole, experience of Linux communities, and they made it very friendly and very welcoming. And the same thing you would experience with openSUSE, guys. The only difference is that openSUSE, I mean, I won't say that Ubuntu people are not professional. They're extremely professional. But with openSUSE, my experience has been that it could also be that I'm very close to a lot of developers. I know them personally. I'm kind of their friends. So like, I talk to Richard Brown almost on a weekly basis. So the thing is, whenever I come across any problem, they deal with it in a very professional manner. Like, I remember I had an issue and I talked to Richard Brown, and I told Brian Lundok, who also sits on the openSUSE board, and they kind of it was it was spread across. And the beauty is that the problem was not fixed immediately. Of course, you cannot get it done, you won't even expect with Microsoft or Apple. But with the next version of openSUSE, that problem was gone. And the beauty was that it was done very silently and very efficiently. They solved that problem. So the thing is, you're dealing with professionals, and the reason you're dealing with professionals are that a lot of members of the openSUSE community are also either SUSE employee or they work in, so they are exposed to the enterprise world, where they know that there is no scope for bullshitting or nonsense. If there's a problem, it has to be fixed, and it has to be fixed very efficiently in a very professional manner. So that is another reason that I prefer openSUSE. It's not like you go to the community, you go ask a question, and somebody will tell you that, oh, it's free of cost, you do it yourself, or we can't do anything. No, they will deal with it professionally. I mean, they will try their best to. I mean, every community tries to fix the problem, but the big difference is, and I hope you understand what I'm trying to say, is that when you have that understanding of how the enterprise world works, when you have that professionalism, then you treat every customer, whether it's a paid customer or a community member, in the same way, because you just try it becomes part of your process. You try to solve that problem efficiently. So that is another reason why I use openSUSE, and I prefer openSUSE, and that's why I recommend openSUSE. Though I am not biased again any distribution, but this is what I personally use. Is it good for you? I don't know. First of all, openSUSE is not a distribution project. During openSUSE conference this year, Richard Brown told me that they are working on changing their mission statement. The rough idea is that openSUSE is about building tools that enable the makers community, the developers community, to get the work done. It's not about distribution anymore. So if you think about openSUSE, you think about OBS, Open Build Service, that allows every developer out there to build and package their applications for any distribution out there. You're thinking about OpenQA, which is like automated testing tool that will test your applications against whatever platform you're running it on. You're looking at Project Cubic, which is kind of targeted at containers and microservices, where you can build your own cluster computing platform to consume containers and microservices. You are looking at openSUSE Studio. You are looking at openSUSE on Windows. So of course, Microsoft is the second biggest player when it comes to public cloud after Amazon Web Services, and a majority of more than 33% virtual machines on Azure run Linux. So Microsoft needs the tools and capabilities that people can use to manage those Linux servers or Linux machines. Windows does not have it. Yes, you can do everything on Mac OS, but Windows does not talk to Unix very well. They tried to build PowerShell, but it's not working. So what they did, they built a Windows subsystem for Linux, where you can run Linux utilities and tools without Linux kernel inside Windows. They worked with Canonical, and they built Windows subsystem for Linux, which came with Ubuntu, but they expanded it. And now you can just go to Windows Store and install openSUSE there. Of course, you have to be running the creators update on Windows, so it enables you to run all the openSUSE tools and utilities on Windows. So if you're running / machines, you can very easily manage them from Windows. So these are the tools that openSUSE community offers. Leap or Tumbleweed, they are just another tools. They are not the project. They're just one more tool in the toolbox that this openSUSE community is. So even if you don't use Leap, you can use any of these components for any of your workload. However, if you do need a Linux distribution, and if you care about those 4 things that I explained earlier: customization, integration, access to software, and professional community, then openSUSE is the right choice. Now, whether you should go with Leap or Tumbleweed, once again, as I explained earlier, it depends on your workload. If you have a lot of proprietary drivers, if you're a gamer, where you do need to use NVIDIA drivers and you don't want those drivers to break with updates, then Leap makes more sense. If you're someone like me who has game consoles but I use, my operating desktop is, to be able to use the latest version of LibreOffice, latest version of GIMP or Krita or whatever out there. Then I use Tumbleweed. So there's no perfect answer for anybody. Your mileage may different from mine. So that's applied to Leap also. And I would not say that Leap is the right answer for you. No, I would not even recommend Leap. But what I would recommend is that go and download it, install it, play with it, but not for a day or two. You have to give it time to kind of settle into absorb. So give it at least a month, because different distribution, you do things differently. So spend some time with it, and then tell me what you think about it. From my experience, as I said, once I went green, I never went back to blue or orange or whatever it was. No offenses whatsoever, but I love it. I love it for all these reasons. So my kind of suggestion, or kind of my advice to you is, download Leap. It's available right now. Test it on your machine. Test it on your virtual machine, and think of all those points that I mentioned, and then come back and tell me what has been your experience. What are your problems you're facing, whether you love it, whether you hate it, whether you dislike it, whether you want it to just go away from the face of the planet Earth, or whether you want it to dominate the Linux world. Whatever your thoughts are, just share in the comments below. And see you soon. I suck at closing also.